was going through some videos, watching some of your stuff, and I found one from 1986 on the cable comedy show. And you're wearing like a vest. It's not a denim vest, but you're wearing a vest over a jacket. You got like the curly mullet going and the handlebar.
That was Mike McDonald's comedy at Mike's Treehouse or something like that.
Yeah. And you came out and you had the big Village People handlebar mustache. And
it was the 80s.
You were smoking and you were smoking a cigarette, and you were complaining that you hadn't done a line or had a drink in a few days. And
haven't times changed.
I was going to ask, you still smoking anyway, cigarettes?
No, I haven't smoked in, I don't know, 30 years maybe.
Oh, good for you. It's been 18 for me. It's not easy, but you know.
No, I don't remember when I quit, but I know that Lenny Clarke's brother Mike quit because he said if I could quit, because I smoked more than any man he ever knew. I was smoking like packs and packs a day because I was doing so many drugs back then, you know.
Right. Kind of goes along.
When you did drugs, you had to be smoking. So I rarely drink, and I don't do drugs anymore, obviously. But those were strange times.
You came to the Boston scene in the '80s from Chicago. You were out there working at the legendary Second City. But now you're not from New England, right?
I wasn't in the legendary Second City. I took classes at Second City, but I was never in Second City. I did improv with a bunch of Second City people back in those days, but I was never actually in Second City. I just took classes out there. So that's an old resume. I think I had the pad stuff back in the day. So I started Zanies out there in Chicago, and then I moved here at the advice of Barry Crimmins. He pretty much started Boston comedy at the Ding Ho back in the day. So.
Yeah. And so when you showed up in Boston from Chicago, what was that like? Were you prepared for it was a real hotbed at that time. Like a lot of comics were coming up.
Honestly, Michael, I was not prepared at all because, my first time, long story, I was drinking since Buffalo. I fell off the train and Barry met me at the South Station. So that's how I started my trip here. Okay. And then we drank all day, and then I went to this place called Plums in Worcester. I don't remember the show at all.
Yes.
Anyway, but the next night I was at the Ding Ho, and on the show was Barry Crimmins, Lenny Clarke, Steve Sweeney, Jack Gallagher, and Stephen Wright.
Oh my God.
And they said to me, "You're the new guy. You're on last."
Oh.
And I'm telling you, I watched him and I went, "Oh my God, oh my!" I was petrified because usually in Chicago there'd be one kind of crummy acting, and I knew I was better than him. I watched him and went, "Oh my God, they're all fantastic! Oh my God!" It was frightening. It was absolutely frightening. I don't know how I did, but they invited me back, so I must have done all right. But it was absolutely frightening.
When you got here and after that experience, were there a couple guys who kind of took you aside and helped you out?
Well, depends what you mean by help. Barry was always big, but I ran into Lenny Clarke, so that was the beginning of the end. We ran into each other right away. We became fast friends pretty quickly. But there was all the guys: Sweeney, Gavin, Lenny, Barry Crimmins. There was a bunch of guys. George McDonald. I can't name them. There's so many fantastic people out here, and they're all just it was kind of like Goodfellas. We never traveled with anybody else. We never saw anybody else. We forgot things were illegal because we only hung in those groups,
That's awesome.
We didn't know there's a world beyond that.
Right. And so
it was a fascinating, great time, and I wish I'd been more aware of what we had at the time because it was really pretty something amazing if you think about it.
It really was.
We just were so busy.
Yeah, those names that you just rattled off there. I mean, that's just an amazing lineup of talent. Just those.
Yes, and then Kevin Meaney came in. You had Mike McDonald. You had Mike Donovan. I can't name them all. There were too many of them.
There's a ton. They all came out of the Boston scene. But you said that your first gig here in New England was here in Worcester, right?
Yes, I was at Plums in Worcester. It was a restaurant that was such a strange. It was so long, but you walked up like it was in like an atrium almost. Like people sat around this big opening, and there was a bar on one side, so you could look down into the mall while you were working. There was a big glass partition, so some of the people were like 25 yards away from you. It was very strange, but somehow it worked. I don't know how. It was very wild because you'd just be standing in front of this glass. Like hockey glass, and then be sitting all around, but there'd be a big hole where the stairs came up from the mall.
Yeah.
You can look down into the mall. It was bizarre.
That was the old Worcester Center Galleria. That was the only mall that I knew of that had a carpet. Like a lot of malls didn't really have a carpet. And before they closed it down, I remember when I first moved here to Worcester, it was like 23 years ago. I remember going in there and seeing all the stains on the carpet. I mean, it was kind of in its last days. I was like, this looks like an old abandoned like frat house that's like the size of a hangar.
Well, if you recall, the parking lot was a total pain to get out of. You had to go up to go down. It was the weirdest parking lot as I recall.
Yeah,
probably because I was high all the time.
That's probably it. I remember Plum's was the place that when you were like a teenager and your parents drove you to a concert at the Centrum back in the day, they would go to Plum's during the show. So while you were inside, like, smoking weed and sneaking like nips of vodka, they were at Plum's having a pleasant evening. And then they'd pick you up and say, "What's that smell?" Yeah.
The owner was a guy named Ronnie Fahagan, who became a good friend of mine. We used to play wiffle ball after the shows were over out in the parking lot.
Oh my God.
He was a big wiffle ball guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we'd drink tequila and play wiffle ball for like another hour and a half after the show. And he was a good guy. It was actually a great club, and it was a great time doing it. I loved Worcester. It was a great time.
Well, you're coming back to the area. You're going to be in Webster, just south of us, at Samuel Slater's restaurant on October 21st, and they've been having a lot of great comedy shows over there. So, you ever been there before?
Good. I don't think so. I've been. There's so many comedy places. I know with Dave Radigan is a funny guy, and Kendra Lansbury. I think. I don't know if I know her, but I meet so many people, and my brain is old now. It's pretty much almost all pudding.
You had a good time in the '80s, and you got to pay the bill at some point, right?
Well, they say every time you drink, you burn up like 10% of your brain cells. So I've got about 90% of those gone, and half of the ones I have are no good. So I'm at like 1% brain cells right now.
Do you drink anymore?
I drink wine on occasion. Yeah, I like tequila, but nothing like I used to.
Okay,
I don't have it in me. There's no desire to go. Woohoo! I'll tell you what. During COVID, I went golfing with my brother. And he and I and a bunch of friends we started drinking beer around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was really, really fun, really hot day out. And we drank beer all day. We were all in bed by 8 o'clock.
I know, right? It's like, oh my God.
There's no more. What do you mean last call? We don't make last call. And we're like, that's good. 4 or 5 beers during the course of 5 hours, you're good to go.
Yeah.
On occasion I do, but no, nothing like the old. No more drugs at all.
It's the recovery time. It's like I went out this past Saturday night to see a band. And I had like maybe 3 vodka tonics. And then I said, oh, my God, how did I get this drunk? And then all day the next day, I just laid on the couch. I was like, I can't. Why is it taking so long? It used to be like you slept an hour, you got up, you had a large coffee, and you just got on with your day. But, I can't do it.
I remember back in the 70s when I was loading trucks. I was working on the fertilizer place. I would drink, then I'd go sleep in the parking lot from 4 and get up at 5:30 and go to work 12 hours loading trucks, and then go back out.
Right.
Your body was young then.
Yeah.
But I remember dating this girl. I remember dating this girl in the 80s, and she said, my friends and I went out last night. We must have had 3 or 4 drinks apiece. I'm thinking, I had that in the shower before I went outside.
I know, right? Before
I went out drinking.
Right, before you went out drinking, we called it pre-gaming. You sat around and drank before you went out and drank. And then you got home for the nightcap or whatever, if you made it home. And not anymore, man.
I was talking to my brother not too long ago, and I said, I've been seeing this girl, and I said, we finished off, we polished up the better part of a bottle of wine. My brother goes, are you listening to yourself? The better part of a bottle of wine. You used to drink 2 bottles before we were drinking. I go, I know. Not like that anymore. I could have a glass of wine and go, bedtime.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, we're talking to Kenny Rogerson. He's going to be at Samuel Slater's restaurant October 21st. Now, you've been in a few movies. You were in Fever Pitch. You were in Something About Mary, which is awesome. Yeah, I had a very small part in there. But I was in Fever Pitch. I had a bigger part, but no one remembers the movie as well as Something About Mary. Something About Mary was really fun. That was a big hit. I mean, the part I had was, someone said to me, what'd you get, like 10 grand for that? I go, I had one line. I had to fly myself to Miami. I made like $800. Wow, the Fairleys didn't pay for your flight or anything like that? No, man, they could have got anybody to do that. Man, I was a day player. They didn't need that. I got there because I met you. I can't tell you the whole story because we're on radio, but if I see him first, I'll tell the whole story. I got that part. Jackie Flynn was a dear friend of mine who's good friends with Peter and Bobby. I was in a bar, and they said, hey, how about Kenny for that thing? And Peter said, can you play a manly gay guy? And I can't tell you what I said, but I got the part. That's awesome. So, and you've been on TV. You've been on Rescue Me. It's all relative and stuff like that. And
I did Rescue Me with Tony V and Kevin Knox. God rest his soul. We played Biker Fireman. That was a lot of fun. I went on tour with Dennis. I went on the Rescue Me comedy tour with Leary and Adam Ferrara and Lenny Clarke and Tony V and all the band, all the guys in Dennis's band. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have anything like that planned or coming up, like movie, TV?
Thing.
Nothing?
Not a thing.
Jeez,
I just wrote a pilot for Lenny. We're seeing what's the word I'm looking for? Stranded somewhere in California. So I just keep writing and see what's coming up. I want to write a one-man show, and all this stuff is in the works. So God knows we'll live long enough to get it going. But got to keep busy. I'm just doing local clubs. I was just out in Las Vegas at the Trop with Lenny Clarke. I had a great week out there, and traveling a little bit. I don't travel as much as I used to. I was doing cruise ships for about 7 years, and that was enough of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm afraid to get on a cruise ship, especially with COVID. But what scared me before that was like the whole norovirus thing. Let me tell you something, man. I've been wearing a mask for long before COVID because people are disgusting. Yes. I still wear one on a plane. It has nothing to do with COVID. I just watch people sneeze, and they're disgusting. I don't trust them. Sorry, not everybody, not the people coming to our show, but the others. I don't trust them. All right. Well, when you go to see Kenny on October 21st at Samuel Slater's, please don't sneeze in his direction. Cover your mouth, for crying out loud. Jeez,
where were you brought up? Yeah. You know who sneeze like that? Dogs and cats.
Right.
They don't cover up.
All right. Well, Kenny Rogerson, thank you very much for taking the time today. Again, October 21st.
My pleasure, man. Great talking with you.
Samuel Slater's Restaurant over in beautiful Webster, and we will see you soon. Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks, bud.